Remember the faces and voices of impeachment?
Please!
Are you feeling confident today, sir?
Monica, did you have sexual relations with the president?
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
To fail to impeach him would send an awful message.
Who among us has not sinned?
Corruptly encouraged a witness.
I want to say again how profoundly sorry I am.
But the road to impeachment began decades before this.
Hello, I'm Bill Kurtis. 1998 was the 1968 of American politics, when the whole world was watching. It began with news of a presidential affair. It ended with the second vote in American history to impeach a president. In the firestorm of media coverage, every conceivable question has been well explored and answered, except why? Why was there such bitterness, even in a town where partisan politics is nothing new? Why did anger replace compromise in Congress? What happened to the statesman? For this episode of Investigative Reports, our journey to find the answer has led us into the heart of the profound political, cultural, and journalistic shifts that have changed the American political landscape, and to the one man who symbolized the same kind of cultural revolution that divided the country 30 years ago.
The culture war. It's a struggle over values, rooted in deep ideological differences. In the 60s, a segment of America's youth rose up to assert its new ethic, challenging some of the basic beliefs of the generations before. Their new community came to be known as the counterculture.
That unleashed, I think, in American society, some forces and some pressures and some conflicts that are living with us yet. And we're seeing that in Washington, even with regard to the impeachment.
For some, the conflicts of the 60s were at the core of the battle to bring down the president. Old feuds that had been simmering around the country for decades now played out between conservatives and liberals in Congress.
On the one hand, people who think we have a sharp moral decline in the country, that our morals are not as good as they used to be. On the other hand, people who are very tolerant of different kinds of lifestyles.
And the truth.
And that cultural clash was apparent in the congressional impeachment debate.
It was also a debate about relativism versus absolute truth. What the defenders want to do is lower the standards by which we hold this president and lower the standards for our society by doing so.
When Tom DeLay says that the fight is between relativism and absolute truth, he's essentially right. That is to say, it's a fight between those people who think that the world is complicated and its problems cannot be resolved by the Grand Inquisitor, by the court, by the subpoena, and those who think that it can be resolved by the church, by the czar, and what have you.
The reason the Republicans are pursuing this to their own personal and political detriment is because they believe in a principle. This is the rule of law. We happen to think that's the foundation of the democracy.
This isn't to say that one side believes in the law and the other side doesn't. But the traditionalist side believes in a vision of the law that is almost absolute. A lie is a lie, whether it's about sex or national security. Modernists are more likely to look at the violation in context. For them, the kind of lie matters as much as the lie itself. The conflict arises when the two ways of looking at the world clash. That's what we've seen in the impeachment of Bill Clinton.
Those in favor will say aye.
There are two nations. One of them is the nation that expresses opinions to the pollsters. And that nation is essentially tolerant, permissive about private life, draws a sharp line between private life and public life, doesn't want to turn private life into the center of public life. The other nation is the nation that votes. And the nation that votes is far closer to the traditionalist model. It includes a much higher percentage of the fundamentalist Christians, of Southerners, of the people who are loyal to authority. And that's why we have this tremendous discrepancy in American life.